For centuries, something has been hidden from humanity. Something so powerful that if known and applied, it would have forever changed the story of every being walking this earth. A forbidden technique, a hidden method, a secret capable of making your soul remember everything it once knew, long before any system, belief or fear was ever implanted in you. And if you're here today, it's not by chance, because there is a part of you, silent, deep, eternal, that already feels this. It knows you're not here merely to survive. It knows you weren't born to live a story written by others. That part, your awakened soul, has always known something was missing. And now, for the first time in a long while, you're just a few steps away from accessing what was hidden for ages. Along this journey, you won't just understand, you'll feel, you'll relive the remembrance. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll discover how to consciously activate the living memory that resides within you, the one that was asleep but never erased. There's no turning back after this. What will be revealed here is not entertainment. It is a calling, a portal, and as you cross it, you won't become someone new. You'll become who you've always been, without masks, without fear, without forgetfulness. Since birth, we've been taught to believe we are only bodies, names, and stories stretched along a linear timeline. That life is a race against the clock, a relentless quest for validation, success, belonging. Few realize that by accepting this narrative without question, something precious begins to silently fade within us. The remembrance of who we are beyond form, beyond victories and losses, beyond roles. Forgetfulness doesn't happen all at once. It seeps in slowly through every expectation we accept, every pattern we mimic unconsciously, every dream we trade for the safety of the known. But the soul never forgets entirely. It only sleeps. It only grows quiet. It waits, with the infinite patience of eternal things, for something to break through the surface of this fabricated world. Sometimes it comes as an unexplainable emptiness, other times as a dream that won't fade with the morning light, or as an intuition so quiet and sudden it could almost go unnoticed. It is in these moments that the calling whispers, and it is here now that you are invited to take the first step. Before we speak more about the forbidden technique, I want to invite you to experience a simple gesture, almost invisible to the eyes, yet profound to the being, that begins to break through the layers of forgetting. A small initiation rite. Gently close your eyes. Place your right hand over the center of your chest, as if touching the door of a forgotten temple. Breathe deeply, and with all the presence you can gather, repeat inwardly, I acknowledge that something within me already knows the way. It doesn't matter if you don't feel anything right now. It doesn't matter if your mind tries to doubt. It doesn't matter if the silence feels empty. The soul responds not to logic, but to intention. The seed is planted in the invisible, and it is only a matter of time before it blossoms. With this small opening, with this intimate and silent gesture, you begin to create the space needed for what will be revealed next, to find fertile ground within you. Because remembering is not an effort, it is a permission, a surrender, a return. And this here and now is just the beginning. Since the earliest civilizations, sages from every corner of the world have spoken, in different ways, about the same essential truth. Within each human being exists a spark that cannot be destroyed, a pure, eternal consciousness that carries the true purpose of existence. In the Vedic tradition of India, this spark is called Atman, the immortal soul, indivisible, inseparable from the source. Plato, in his dialogues, spoke of an ancient memory that the soul carries from before birth, what he called anamnesis. Hermes Trismegistus, in his Hermetic texts, described the soul as the eternal part that journeys back to the light after falling into matter. Blavatsky, in Theosophy, reinforced the idea that the human being carries a higher self, a divine core that remains untouched, even when the personality is corrupted. Each tradition, in its own words, pointed to the same inner map. The soul does not need to be built. It needs to be remembered. Yet, over the centuries, we were taught to forget, to trade inner freedom for social masks, to seek worth outside instead of recognizing the fire already burning within. This disconnection did not only erase our spiritual memory, it hijacked our freedom. It hijacked our self-love. It hijacked the sacred right to be who we came here to be. The Atman, however, is unbreakable. It waits. It pulses silently behind every dream, every unexplainable longing, Every moment when we feel life should be more than what we were taught. To remember the Atman is not just a spiritual awakening. It is an act of ultimate freedom. It is reclaiming the love that was stolen from us. It is restoring the dignity of our essence before a world that tried to mold us into something we never were. And this is the journey that begins today. Not to become something new, but to return to who you've always been. If the soul already carries within it all truth, then why do we forget? Why does that memory feel so distant for most people? The answer lies in the invisible fabric of the society we are born into, a silent, deeply rooted system whose primary goal is one thing: to keep you disconnected from yourself. From childhood, we are taught to compare, to compete, to chase external rewards. We learn that our worth depends on grades, titles, money, followers, and little by little, we drift away from the only true source of value, being. Education rewards mechanical memory, but punishes living intuition. Culture celebrates conformity but distrusts authenticity. Media floods our minds with constant stimuli, making it almost impossible to hear the soul's whisper. The system does not conspire against us out of hatred. It simply operates to keep the machine turning. And an awakened, free, loving, conscious soul is not predictable, not controllable. It is not a piece that fits in without questioning. That's why forgetting is encouraged, distraction is rewarded, and noise is normalized. But even within the gears of this world, the soul never surrenders. It sends signals, creates cracks, dreams, intuits, feels. And if you are here now, it's because somewhere within you, those cracks have begun to open. Because even in the midst of the storm, the spark of the Atman remains lit. And it is through that, light no matter how small, that we begin to walk the path back. Because the system may try to extinguish, but it can never destroy what was written with the very substance of eternity. There is a kind of wisdom that does not impose. It doesn't need to shout or prove anything. It simply whispers. And that whisper is the inner calling, the voice of the soul trying to guide you home. Many call this voice intuition. But more than just a sixth sense, it is the living link between your earthly self and your eternal Atman. It is the silent thread that connects your temporary story to your unchanging truth. The problem is, we've learned to live with our ears turned outward. We wait for ready-made formulas. We seek methods, recipes, rational explanations. We want to understand. We want to control. But the soul's calling cannot be explained, it must be felt. It reveals itself in flashes of illogical certainty, in goosebumps that appear from nowhere, in a longing for something we've never seen, but somehow know exists. Intuition is not fed by thought. It blossoms in the space between thoughts. That's why to hear the soul we must first silence the screaming mind. We must create space for the subtlest music of being to echo. And here lies the first true preparation for remembering. Do not try to understand everything with your mind. Allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to trust something that requires no proof. Because as the ancient alchemists used to say, truth is not taught, it is remembered. And to remember it, you must listen not with your physical ears, but with the awakened heart. That is what we are about to do next. Prepare your being so that at last, the voice of your Atman can be heard with the clarity that has always been available, but which only reveals itself to those who dare to be silent. Before the remembrance awakens, the soil of consciousness must be prepared. Just as a seed needs fertile ground, the soul needs an inner space where it can bloom without fear. The world has taught us to run, to seek quick answers, so to try to master processes as if truth could be forced out. But remembering who you truly are is an act of surrender, not conquest. The Atman, your eternal essence, does not respond to harsh commands. It responds to space, to silence, to surrender. That is why the preparation does not begin by learning more. It begins by unlearning, by emptying, by quieting, by softening the inner gaze. It is as if, in order to remember, we must first unclench the fists that tried so hard to grasp at certainty. Here I invite you to a small act of courage, to suspend judgment for a moment, to let the new come not as a new theory, but as an old memory resurfacing. Do not fight to understand. Do not rush to feel something. Simply allow. If silence comes, welcome it. If restlessness comes, welcome it. If emptiness comes, welcome it. Because emptiness is not absence. Emptiness is the space where the remembrance of your true self can finally be born. The act of preparing to remember is, in essence, an act of love for yourself. It is the acceptance that you are worthy of knowing who you truly are, without masks, without effort, without pretension. And when this surrender happens, even in silence, even without words, something already begins to shift, something that doesn't come from the outside, something that has always been yours. And it is precisely in this state of openness that we will very soon access the forgotten technique that awakens everything the soul has always known. We are almost there. Topic 7. The forbidden technique revealed. You have made it this far because something within you has recognized the calling, not a promise of easy formulas, but the echo of a truth that has always been yours. And now the moment has come. The moment to cross the doorway that separates forgetting from remembrance. The moment to activate the sacred thread that connects you to your Atman, your unchanging origin. This forbidden technique, hidden through the ages, preserved in symbols, revealed only to those who dare to look within, is a ritual of reconnection with what could never be erased, your eternal essence. It takes place in 3 sacred movements. Each of these movements is simple, yet carries a silent power that resonates directly with your ancestral memory. Perfection is not required, only presence, only truth. Open yourself to live this experience as an act of love and courage. First movement, the silence of the personality. Before remembering, it is necessary to silence the mask, the voices, the labels, the expectations you've learned to carry as if they were you. What to do? Sit or lie down in a quiet place. Close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. Mentally affirm, I now renounce the illusion of who I think I am. Visualize, if you wish, your masks falling away one by one. Your name, your social roles, your fears, your achievements, dissolving like mist. Do not fight what arises. Just observe. Just allow. Here you begin to create space for the true self to emerge. Second movement, the breath of ancestral memory. The breath is the link between body and soul. Conscious breathing is the key that begins to awaken what lies dormant in your energy field. What to do? Inhale deeply while counting to 4. Hold the breath for 7 seconds, visualizing a golden light expanding from the center of your chest. Exhale slowly over 8 seconds, feeling that light spreading throughout your body and beyond. Repeat this cycle at least 5 times. Each breath is like a wave cleansing vibrational impurities, allowing the Atman to shine once again through you. Third movement, the invocation of inner truth. Now that the mask has been silenced and space has been opened, it is time to call forth, with humility and strength, the truth back to the center of your awareness. What to do? Place both hands over your chest and mentally or softly aloud, repeat the invocation. I now remember who I am beyond name, beyond form. I am eternal, soul, conscious and awakened. I am. Close your eyes and remain in silence for at least 5 minutes, simply feeling. Do not expect spectacular sensations. Sometimes remembrance arrives like an almost invisible thread, like a silent tear, like a peace. That needs no explanation. Whatever the experience, welcome it. This is your reunion. This is your pact with truth. And remember, this technique is not a one-time practice to expect external miracles. It is a continuous opening, a field that strengthens each day. With each chosen silence, with every act of presence, the more you practice, the more the voice of your Atman becomes audible. The more masks fall, the more deep truths bloom. And little by little, the life that once seemed fragmented begins to naturally align with who you've always been. This is the remembrance your soul has waited centuries to live. And today you didn't just hear these words, you felt them, you lived them. But this remembrance is not an isolated event. It is the birth of a new state of being, a silent commitment to your truth. And that is what we will speak about now. To remember who you are is not a one-time event. It is not something that happens today only to be forgotten tomorrow like a dream, dissolving at dawn. Remembrance is a daily exercise, a gesture of love that must be cultivated as something essential to life, like the air you breathe, like the water that quenches your deepest thirst. Just as you bathe every day to cleanse the body, just as you brush your teeth to preserve health, remembering your Atman is nourishment for the soul that must be served each morning. The outside world will keep trying to capture your attention. Social media, fabricated urgencies, endless distractions, all cleverly disguised traps designed to make you forget what You've remembered today. But now you know remembering is not a one-time act. It is a way of existing, a silent choice renewed with every breath. It begins today and never ends. Each conscious breath is a silent victory. Each shower can become a ritual of purification for your inner light. Each chosen silence is an altar where your soul meets itself again. This continuous practice is what seals the transformation. It is what prevents the noise of the world from extinguishing the sacred flame you have reignited. Because when the soul remembers who it is, it doesn't just light its own path. It becomes a living torch, igniting the paths of others, and so step by step, gesture by gesture, breath by breath, the remembrance strengthens, not as effort, but as a second heart beating within you, calling you each day to simply be who you have always been. When this practice takes root, the transformation ceases to be internal only. It begins to quietly shape the entire reality around you. The invisible weight that once accompanied your every move begins to dissolve. Life becomes lighter, more fluid. Worries that once felt enormous lose their power to dominate your days. You begin to dream again, not of distant goals, but of signs, of messages, of revelations that arise in dreams and whisper directions. Your intuition, once drowned by the world's logic, now speaks with clarity. Decisions that once brought deep doubt now flow with silent certainty, not from the mind, but from the awakened heart. And then, effortlessly, you notice your outer life begins to reorganize itself, aligned with the wisdom now pulsing within you. It is not magic. It is memory rediscovered. Over time, something subtle and extraordinary begins to happen. What was once practice becomes presence. Effort becomes nature. And without realizing it, you're no longer trying to remember. You simply live from the remembrance. Peace is no longer a distant goal. It becomes your natural state. Success is no longer measured by visible achievements, but by the lightness with which you inhabit your own existence. Relationships change, not by force but by resonance. People, paths, and situations that no longer vibrate with your truth naturally dissolve. And in their place, encounters arise that nourish your soul. The fear that once dictated your decisions begins to quiet, and in the space it leaves behind, a freedom is born, a freedom that asks for no permission. The freedom to be who you are, whole, sensitive, true. The freedom to exist in peace without needing to prove anything to anyone. Life ceases to be a race and becomes a sacred crossing. Every simple gesture, every quiet choice becomes a living prayer, a testament to the reunion between you and your essence. You no longer seek to be complete. You overflow because something within you finally remembered that it was never lost. And that, dear one, is the true new life. Not the one that begins from scratch, but the one that returns to all that has always been yours. Every step you've taken up to this point has, in truth, been a reunion, a silent act of self-love, a remembrance that may have been dormant, but now pulses alive within you. What has been awakened today needs no grand promises, no rush, no explanations. It only needs care, presence, small conscious gestures that together build a life aligned with the truth of your being. If this message touched something within you, if something in your heart vibrated in recognition, I invite you to leave the word Atman in the comments, the word that represents the soul that never forgot who you are. And if you wish, share with us where you're watching from. It's a deep joy to feel how far this network of consciousness has expanded. Each comment, each story, is a flame that warms and strengthens this journey even more. Today we do not end a story. Today we seal a new pact with what is most true within us. Thank you for walking this path. Thank you for trusting yourself. Thank you for being living light in this vast awakening. We will meet again and again with every new step, every new silence, every new remembrance. See you soon. See you always.